Just think, you're at your favorite theme park. You're waiting in line to go on your favorite ride. You have a family member with you, maybe even a friend. Now they're terrified, but you have rode this ride 1,000 times. You can't wait to make it 1,001. You're next in line. So as you step up, you look at your friend or family member, calm them down. Say, hey, this is a customizable ride, which means they can go on a less intense version than what you're accustomed to. Well, that's what Universal had just filed a patent application on, a ride or technology that allows you and I as riders to customize the ride to our desired level. I am Dave, a 10-year intellectual property attorney, and I'm dealing with everything from trademarks to copyrights, trade secrets, and patents. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. And if you like this type of content, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We're going to get off into this article that talks about the universal patent and the technology, the patent application that they just recently filed. Then, I like to look at the actual patent. We're going to break down the claims, say what this means for you and I. You're going to get something out of it, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So let me pull up this article really quickly, and this is from Blue Loop. Looks like it is the name of the publication. So shout outs to them. But as we see here, Universal Patent reveals new technology to customize ride experience. Rider could control the intensity of their experience. Universal Destinations and Experiences has published a patent for a new technology to allow guests to customize the ride experience. First reported by Orlando Inno, the patent is titled Choreographic Ride Systems and Methods and describes a system to provide a customized rider experience that allows the rider to at least partially determine the control ride path. The ride vehicle includes a control system configured to control the coordination of the movements of the ride vehicle with movements of a separate ride vehicles, the patent says. And again, we'll take a look at this patent application here in a second. Riders could control the intensity of their experience that it adds. The input provided by the rider may include a desired rider experience, such as the desired intensity level of the rider. We're going to say what all that means. This kind of gives us into some description of the patent application, but we're going to go right to the claims, which is the most important part of the application, in my opinion. We're going to see what the claim says. So apparently, Universal is opening up a new Epic Universe opens next year. This actually looks pretty cool just from the figures here. And it seems like, okay, Universal regularly files patent applications and so forth and so on. So this ride essentially can maybe use at the new park that's opening at Universal here next year. So I just recently came from Disney World, and I was at Magic Kingdom taking the family members. And what is it called? Space Mountain. I hate roller coasters. And I had to my hand had to be arm had to be twisted to get on this Space Mountain roller coaster. I guess if you can call it a roller coaster, where it kind of starts up and goes down, and it's in the dark essentially. And that's probably my maximal level of kind of roller coaster ride. So it'd be great for me to be able to I guess as I'm kind of getting on that roller coaster, for example, because this patent will allow you to adjust the intensity on even roller coasters to be able to get on that ride and say, okay, man, I tried that roller coaster intensity. I'm okay with going just up a notch. I think that'd be cool. And plus, also, I think it makes for, I think the article maybe said it, or maybe it was another article I was reading that talked about just how much of a game changer this is. Just think about it. You're going to Cedar Point, which is in Midwest Ohio. I'm a Michigan native. Or you're going to Michigan Adventures, which is like the little brother of Cedar Point here in the Michigan area, or your favorite park in Disney World or whatever the case may be. And again, you go on a roller coaster or whatever ride, and you're like, okay, that was cool, but it's time to turn it up a notch. To have that ability to do that, again, I think that's a game changer, and it makes for the fact that one ride will never be the same. To be able to kind of change the speed of a ride, or the speed at which the angle is inclined or steepness of it, or the vertical movement, the horizontal movement, so that every time you go on a ride, you can get a different feeling. I mean, again, I think that's a game changer, and I definitely think that Orlando or Universal is onto something. So let's go to the patent because, like I said earlier, I like to break this stuff down. See here, bada boom, bada bang, and we're going to add it to the stage. So again, this is the actual patent that was filed by Universal Studios. You can see the applicant, Universal City Studios LLC, which interestingly enough is a California company. The inventors seems like are all in Florida working at the park. And again, this was just published last month or a couple months ago, June 20, 2024. Applications typically published 18 months after you file them. This is interesting because, okay, this was, I mean, this is interesting. Filed February 29, 2024. Seems like they filed a provisional 5 years ago. It seems like it's some interesting stuff that went on with this application. But nonetheless, so these are some of the pictures. As you see here to the right, these are the claims, which again are the most important part of the application that we'll get off into and break down. But these are some of the pictures. So you see here, figure one, see a lion. It looks like, it's a pole, a base here, 18. It looks like more of a carousel type ordeal. You see some block diagrams here, some more block diagrams. Again, another lion, a carousel type ride. Then as you kind of get down here, you get off into the more so the ride. You can see the ride here, figure 9. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. Yeah. Again, it's more so of a carousel type ride where it seems like, okay, you have the carousels going around and they can maybe kind of go along this path and maybe end up ultimately over here at this other path. And yeah, so that's pretty cool here. Let's see if there's any more pictures. Seems like figure 10 is another similar thing. 11, the same thing, and then it ends with some flow chart. So let's go to the claims here. So this application has 20 claims. And as you can see here, it's a system claim, a ride system. You have a ride vehicle, which I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have, for reasons that kind of more so specific to patent law, I probably would have called this thing the ride system as well. But anyhow, and then you have a method claim. So these are you have 3 independent claims, 20 total claims. You have claim 1, which is an independent claim. You have a claim 10, which is an independent claim, and then claim 15 was an independent claim. So what is an independent claim, you might add? Well, an independent claim is a claim that stands on itself. So typically an application is a combination of independent claims or standalone claims. Then you have the dependent claims, which, as the name might suggest, depend off of the independent claim. They build off of the independent claim. So claim 1 is typically your broadest claim, although as in this case, you have a combination of system claims, method claims, which is okay, but it kind of, it makes it such that first claim, that claim in claim 1 may not be your broadest claim, which again is okay. So when you file an application, at least here in the U.S., you are allowed 20 total claims and 3 independent claims with the filing of the application. And if you go to say 4 independent claims or you go to 21 total claims, then you have to start paying excess claim fees. In other words, you have to give the federal government more money. You all know the government wants its money. So let's get back off into it again. I'm not going to keep you long. I came across this article and I thought this was a pretty cool article. I think the ride is a game changer. You guys have to let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Would you ride a ride that allowed you to customize the experience? I definitely think from a customer standpoint, from a rider standpoint, I think it adds a level of funness, I guess if that's a word, to the ride. But let's get off into the claim. So it's a ride system that comprises a ride vehicle that comprises a ride assembly configured to move vertically and angularly relative to a base of the respective ride. So we talked about this carousel here. We talked about this carousel here, which is of a lion, and it seems like you can kind of sit on a lion, much like you can sit on a horse at a carousel. So I'm going to kind of point to what this stuff is. So when it says a ride vehicle, say it's 10. This whole contraption here. Then a ride assembly is 20. That's essentially the lion, and it's configured to move vertically. Obviously, you see the lion can move vertically along the post here, 22, and it can move angularly relative to a base. So the base here is 18. And the lion 20 maybe can spin around, which again is angularly. So again, when it talks about the ride assembly, which is the lion in this figure one to the left here, it can move vertically along the post and it can move angularly relative to the base 18 of the respective ride vehicle. So essentially, again, your lion can spin around, it can move up the vertical post relative to that base 18. Then you have this ride control system. Let me see if figure 6 actually shows it. So yeah, this is your ride control system. This is perfect because it actually gives the description to it. So you have your ride control system 32, and which configured to do what? Receives a first input indicative of a desired ride experience with respect to the ride of the vehicle. So in other words, what is it saying? It's saying, hey, you as the user you have this control system, this control panel as you're getting off into the ride, and you may say, okay, I don't want this thing to move vertically along the post. So you will insert that input at the control panel, essentially saying, okay, I don't want this thing to move vertical. Or you can say, hey, I do want this thing to move vertical, and I want it to move at 10 meters per second, as opposed to someone else who maybe wanted to move only at 5 meters per second. Or you can say, okay, I wanted this thing to move vertically along this post at 10 meters per second, but I also want this thing to spin around at, say, 2 meters per second, where somebody else can say, okay, I'm cool with this thing moving vertically, but I don't want this thing to do all this type of spinning. I'm that person. I'm the person to say, okay, I'm cool with the vertical movement as long as it's a slow control vertical movement, but I don't want all these spins. So that's pretty much what this is saying here. When you look at, okay, a user this control system is receiving a first input indicative of the desired ride experience with respect to the ride vehicle from a user. So you as a user is going to enter in your desired ride experience. Do you want this thing to move up and down along this post? Do you want this thing to spin around? Heck, do you want the thing to move in a horizontal direction? That's all part of that receiving that first input that you're inserting into the control system. Now, the second one is now the control panel or the control system is receiving a second input indicative of a choreography of the ride vehicle relative to at least one additional ride vehicle. So let's go down to the let me rotate my screen here. So they're pretty much saying, hey, they're going to output, or this control panel is going to essentially receive another input. This input, again, is not from you as a user. That's why it doesn't say a first user. It's going to receive another input of a choreography of the ride vehicle relative to an additional ride vehicle. So it's essentially saying, hey, John, okay, he wants this thing to spin around. He wants this thing to go vertical. And wants this thing to maybe move horizontally. But then your control panel is going to get a second input that's going to shows what that looked like in terms of a choreography relative to another vehicle, because another vehicle that may be adjacent to your lion may not want to do all those things, or it may want to do all those things. And this whole system is trying to allow these vehicles or these lions from hitting each other. So that's essentially what that is saying as I go back to the claim here. And again, this is actually a pretty, I don't want to say, complicated, but it's definitely a more involved claim compared to some of the ones that we looked at in the past, where again, receiving that first input, you just entering your desired ride experience. That's cool. But then his second input is going to be of a choreography that the control panel is that is receiving. It's going to be relative to an additional vehicle. So essentially, this choreography is going to essentially make sure that you don't hit the second vehicle. So in other words, as we look at the picture here, you have 100A, you have 100B. So they want to make sure that these things are kind of moving in unison, such that, okay, John and say Nancy is in 100B and John is in 100A. They still want these things to, or 10A and 10B, 100A and 100B seems like it's the pathway that is moving. But say 10A, John is in, 10B, Nancy is in. They both have inputted their respective desired experience, but the control panel want to make sure that it's still controlled such that they're not hitting each other. So that's essentially what that second step is doing. And then going off into the third step, determine the ride path. So again, 100A, 100B, for example, would be examples of the ride path of the ride vehicle based on the first and second inputs above, where the ride path comprises a horizontal movement path of the ride vehicle with respect to the choreography, a vertical movement path, and an angular movement path. So it's essentially determining your ride path, where your ride path has a horizontal movement. So your horizontal movement can be from here to here. That's a horizontal direction. It can be also It can also be a angular movement. It will also be an angular movement path, which means that, hey, this thing can spin around. Then it can be a vertical movement, which means that your lion is going up and down on that post. So that's essentially what that third step is saying. It's saying essentially based on your the control panel receiving this first input from you based on your desired ride experience. And the second input that's indicative of this choreography relative to another ride vehicle is going to determine this ride path. And this ride path is going to have a horizontal movement, it's going to have a vertical movement, it's going to have an angular movement. Then, last but not least, the fourth step is going to output a signal of the ride vehicle indicative of the instructions to cause the ride vehicle to move along the path. So essentially, it's meaning, hey, we took all this thing into consideration. Now it's time to put essentially output a signal to the actual ride vehicle so that it can go into this predetermined path. So you have 4 steps here. Step 1 is you are, as the user, the control panel is receiving this input from you and I as a user based on our desired ride experience. Then this control panel is also going to receive another input that's going to look at a choreography relative to an additional lion or additional ride vehicle. And then it's going to essentially determine a ride path. And that ride path is going to have a vertical movement path, is going to have a horizontal movement path, it's going to have an angular movement path. Then last but not least, the fourth step is going to output a signal to say, hey, ride vehicle, go do your thing, move along the path, based on, in part, the user, but also what we deem is safe. So it has a safety component to it. It's not like, okay, you as a user can just input anything and it's going to go willy-nilly. No, it's going to go willy-nilly within means, within reason, based off of these other ride vehicles that may be adjacent to it. So you guys have to let me know, what do you guys think about this? Would you guys use it? And even though we're talking about it as it relates to a carousel type experience, you can actually use this as a roller coaster, or with regard to in a roller coaster more atmosphere. So I think this is going to be a game changer, not only to riders or theme parks in general. Just think, you can go to a theme park and ride the same ride 10 times and get a different experience each time. I personally think that's a game changer. And for me, as somebody who, like I said, I hate roller coasters, or I hate just the stomach drop feeling, that'd be cool to be able to ride a ride and have it go progressively more intense, so that I'm not going from 0 to 100. You just got that crazy stomach drop feeling, but you can kind of just gradually increase the intensity, or gradually decrease the level of intensity based on what you want to experience. So I think it's a game changer. You guys have to let me know, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is a game changer, or do you think this is like, whatever? Please, I would love to hear your comments in the comment section below. And like I said at the beginning, please hit a like button. Please subscribe if you like this type of content where I'm talking about these current events. I'm talking about patents that are being filed from these different companies. I know we recently looked at a lot of the automotive companies, with GM in a drone and Ford in the vehicle that detects the speed of another vehicle and maybe issues a ticket. We talked about Stellantis, formerly known as Chrysler, and how they have this third row pickup truck. Again, we're getting off into these patent applications, and this stuff is tech. We know that the US, we sell IP, patents, trademarks, copyrights. That's what we sell to the rest of the world, as well as in-house with stateside. We sell intellectual property. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, peace.